right, what we have here is my Stinson 108-3. They're known as Flying Station Wagon, the -3 model, which you can see is annotated on the cowling. I took it from the bare bones, which I took it down to that point, and completely restored the airplane in a period of about 6 years. And we'll go through some of the things that are new and whatever. As you might be able to see, everything that was metal or whatever I had polished, chromed, or whatever. Just went crazy with it. On the engine part, this is a 165 horsepower Franklin. And you might remember there was a car manufacturer way back when that was going to make cars with Franklin engines in them. And so I had this completely overhauled in a place, had it shipped off to a place in North Carolina. And it is just beautiful and flawless and perfect and runs great. And when they did them, that's what they did, was gray with the reddish outline of everything. And it's works very well. I've got a few hours on it now, and it's just perfect, just perfect. You might notice the colors under here. There's a painter in this town that really does a great job, and I happened to be at a dealer having my BMW worked on, and I was looking around the new ones, and I said, I love that color, what is that? And they said, it's called BMW Space Gray. So I asked my painter friend, can you get that? And he said, well, sure. So he came and we sprayed all the metal parts in BMW Space Gray. And it really has a nice look to it. And of course, this just latches under here and these go down. The color is not typical Stinson. If you go to an air show or something, you'll see Stinsons all done in this color. And so I tried that, and when you spray, it would get under the tape and everything. It just looked awful. So we cleaned all that up. And a guy came into the airport one day, and he had a new Cessna, and those lines were just perfect. And I said, how did you spray that on there? He said, we don't do that anymore. You use Mylar, it's a tape. So this is all Mylar, and it's just straight and pretty, and it came out very well. Even to the smallest thing, like on the wheel, the nose step, done in script. So we did most of it in BMW, not in BMW Space Gray, but I picked 2 Stinson colors from the book of colors and went with the Polar Gray and Insignia White and had them mixed by a fellow down in southern Washington. And I showed him a picture and I said, that's kind of what I want. And when it rolled out, it was just, I think, just perfect. It just looks great. So I don't know what color you'd actually call it, polar gray, whatever. And this is the burgundy of the original Stinson color. The other thing that might be, if you know anything about Stinsons, you might notice right off, most Stinsons have a bar that comes down the middle of the canopy, and the canopy is 2 pieces. And so there was a place that does canopies, and I had them make me a new one in 1 piece. And I had to make a mold, and they used that to make their 1 piece. And it really came out well, and the FAA certified it, and it's in my book and everything. So it's really, really a clean-looking front end for a Stinson. As I say, most everything that is metal or whatever, I had chromed or polished or whatever. That was an expensive ordeal, but it made the airplane look quite nice with that gray. We took out the original instrument panel. I'm a fairly, what do you want to say, average size, tall person. And the original panel was up here, and not a problem, you could still see it forward pretty much, but making a new panel, we were able to cut it down quite a bit. This is also the BMW Space Gray color we were showing earlier. A few interesting things, all the instruments are new, or if they were overhauled, they all had the little Stinson logo put on them. Something different, the horizon is an electronic one, and it's only about yay wide. It's like a television screen, no moving parts. It's just, that's what you see. We have 2 fuel gauges, different than the original Stinson, which had one for each one, and that was for both tanks. We have an electronic tachometer over here, which is very interesting. And like if you're used to doing a mag check, every time you switch, it'll tell you how far it went down and all. It's very unusual and very nice. This is an iFly GPS, and it's a very nice unit. When normally you just put it on a map, and it's like holding a chart in front of you, and it works really well. 2 radios, Garmin radios. Trying to think of anything new down here. New carpeting. All the metal parts are, again, BMW Space Gray. We had our nice new logo made and put on the yoke, which is normally just says 108 Stinson or something. And this one we have the Flying Station Wagon. And there's a Steinmaker in town that did those for me and clear coated them, and they look very nice. New circuit breaker panel across there. And most all the instrumentation and lights and whatever we put on toggle switches here. And this guy's just come up so you can see it now. It's like a TV screen, and if you had it in an aerobatic airplane, it would go right around with you and whatever. And the door sills, I took those off, and I found a guy that put the logo on here that says Stinson, and it is gorgeous. Everybody that sees this is just crazy about that, and it's pretty nice. And I figure one day I'll climb in here and scrape the heck out of it, but it won't be there. But it's very nice. The seats, front and back, are done in a very nice leather, again, that will match the paint and whatever. And the thing I like about it particularly is that when you open the doors, you just smell leather, and it's pretty nice. New belts in gray to match everything, and chromed buckles. The earlier model Stinsons came with this wood paneling, front and back, and I don't know what kind of wood that originally was. So I started looking through all my hobby books and whatever, and model airplane things, and I found this place that has this wood. It came from Africa, and I think it's called bulbunga or something like that, and it's used mainly to make guitar cases and whatever, and outline in a basswood, and it all just fit perfectly. I drew the pattern from the old ones and put the new ones on, and they look very nice. As I said, here we are again. Chromed door handles and whatnot. This is to get in. Your door sill is chromed, and this is a chrome pull handle to get in. Up above, I have the trim knobs for the elevator and rudder, and had those polished up, and so that you can set those. The older Stinsons didn't even have that. I have nice new lights to shine on a panel for night, and same thing back here for a light. And a speaker. This is a speaker that's mounted in the overhead. And a light, of course, if you need it for the night or whatever. So, and as I say, new headliner. It's really soft. It feels just great. I don't know, you're down there, you can see the back probably. And the same thing with the bulbunga wood and the seats and all this. New carpeting, gray, everything matches the gray. All right, we'll move back to the baggage compartment, which was quite a project. I had to get a bunch of doors that would fit, and I was able to find this guy. I polished him up a little bit, still needs a little bit more. I did a complete new floor, background and everything, and these are original belts that were in the original Stinson. And I'd used a bar, I don't know what you'd call it, presentation on here, and they're very thick and clear, and it's just made a beautiful baggage compartment out of it. One of the things that, of course, drew me to this very airplane was I was looking at the ad for it, and my name's Richard Drury, of course, and I'm looking at the 108, which is the airplane, and it says RD, and I thought, wow, is this calling to me? Is this my airplane or what? So I went to Colorado and picked this airplane up, and there it is, 108 RD. You don't really need that on here in the U.S. unless you're flying into Canada, and then they demand that you have the big one of the serial numbers on them, so it's on there. The all this is new fabric, polyfiber. As a matter of fact, here's my without the fabric when we ripped it all off, and you can see the basic frame, and I sandblasted the whole thing, which is really, I got to suggest to you to find somebody else to do it, because when you're under it sandblasting, that's not fun. So sandblasted, got all the frame that's under there done, and then epoxy primed it with a white epoxy primer, which made it nice and smooth and pretty, and it's virtually free of any corrosion or anything by doing that. The horizontal here, these never had the VGs on them, and these are very difficult airplane to three-point. In other words, landing with the tail down and the main gear up. But with these VGs, it works pretty easily, which is the point of putting them on there. Yeah, so we had it all apart, and I pulled out the horizontal here, put all new nuts, bolts, whatever. And in here, all new cables for flying, and they're all new. And every last nut and bolt and screw, as you can probably see here, is new. In other words, you got a new airplane, pretty much. And the color I talked to you a little bit about, and this, using the Mylar, really came out nicely. So. And you probably can notice the tail wheel from here. All those parts and pieces are chromed or polished. Well, back in the cockpit, which we've talked about a little bit, you know, as I sit in it now, it's a feeling of great, release, for one. This took me about 6 years to do. And many a cold night in the hangar, and you sure you want to do this? And from my wife, who eventually came out with her iron and helped me do the fabric and put it on, so I appreciate her doing that. This is a good airplane for us because she likes to sit in here and read or do what she's doing. And it's roomy, it's nice. You can put stuff in the back, or people if you wanted to. It's interesting to me about four-seat airplanes that people who have never bought an airplane or owned one, they invariably say, I want to get a four-seater to put my wife and kids and all the gear in. And I tell them you could probably be better off just to buy a single-seater because you're not going to do this. Oh yeah, we are. Well, and you see them taxi by first of all with everything in it. And the second time you see them, the wife's in it, and then from there on, it's just the guy by himself. But anyway, this has a good back seat if you're going to put back seaters in it. Luggage, being the station wagon, you can put 300 pounds back here if you wanted to. It is great fun to fly. It's extremely easy. Ground handling is not a real big problem. You got that big fin and rudder back there, but you got to make your feet work. That's for sure. It's not particularly noisy or anything. It's just a good flying airplane, and I think for a guy that wants to get into an airplane and not just a Cessna 150 or something, which you see at every air show, you'll see Cessnas and whatever. But a good-looking Stinson or whatever that's been fully restored, that's where your eye goes and that's where you go. And of course, you're going to find that the prices are up. But as I say to people, if you have this desire to rebuild an airplane, it'd be really good if you're a drinker to go have a martini and forget that, because it's going to take you years and years, and it's going to cost a lot of money. And if you think it's going to cost $100 for this, it won't. It'll cost $500 for that. And parts that are supposedly easy to find are not. So it's a hell of a project, no doubt about it. There are people who their life revolves around building airplanes. And having done it, I wish them well. No way in the world. Buy the best airplane you can if you're going to buy an airplane. But forget this working on them business. But just my opinion. I'd rather spend the time with my wife. We've been together 46 years, whatever it is, and I think that's a better deal than spending cold nights in a hangar trying to get these things ready to go. The fabric thing is fairly easy, and polyfiber, which used to be called Stitz after Ray Stitz, the guy that started it. Polyfiber is a very good fabric, very strong, and he puts out a manual, and I think it says, if you've never even tried this before, this manual will get you through it, and it's really good. It's a very good start to finish manual. It is the Bible. Matter of fact, you have to comply with all the things in there about putting this fabric on for the FAA to certify this. And once you've done it and say it complies with that manual, then you're set. These are the inspection plates you've probably noticed here. And in there is a hole, a little bit smaller than that. And if you need to get in there, like on an inspection, to see the cables or see whatever's in there, you get these off, and before you put them back, you cut a little smaller, and these just snap on, and that's why they're there. But they won't come off until you do an inspection from them. Can't think of anything else that, since you're going to buy this airplane, that you really need to be aware of. It's really, this particular airplane is just to make sure you got gas and oil and start it and go fly it. There really isn't much on this to do. It's kind of like going to Reno and you own a Hawker Sea Fury and you're racing against a P-51, and when you come back from the race, the P-51 guys will have all the cowlings off and there's oil dripping and whatever. In the Sea Fury, you just say, how's it going, and go have a beer, because it doesn't do that. So this is your Sea Fury of little airplanes in that regard. It's a wonderful airplane, and I even noticed in some of the classic magazines, there are a lot of kids that are doing their first solo in a Stinson, which got to tell you that they can be flown fairly easily and enjoyed. It's a nice airplane. Can't have my wife though. We're not going to go have another airplane, that is, to rebuild. So I guess this is going to be the last of it. And can I say it was great fun? No. It's rewarding now, though, when you look at it and walk around, do what we're doing today and pointing out some things, and I go, yeah, that came out pretty well, looks good. And there you have it.